All right. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi,
Well,
everyone.
so welcome back to another episode of the Knit State of Mind podcast. It's been a little while, but we're back, right? We've had a little hiatus, a little dip in our knitting mojo, but feeling some energy return. So we wanted to come back and share what we're making and connect with you all. So, in case you are new here, because it has been a while, I'm Wanda. I live in the Bay Area, California.
And I'm Heather, and I used to live in the Bay Area, California, but now I live in Portland, Oregon. So, yeah, we're excited to be back and show you a little bit of what we've been working on and just catch up.
Wonderful. You want to kick us off?
Sure. So I am wearing Tuku by the Petite Knitter. I knit this. I feel like I'm gonna be, well, I guess most of the stuff I brought I finished recently, but this one I knit over the winter. I finished it in December. So it is Tuku by the Petite Knitter, and it is knit out of Imperial yarn, company Tracie 2. And I don't remember what the two colors are, but it's, that like purpley rose color and a cream. So, there's not much more to see than what is showing. And also, if you notice the light changing, it's been like completely cloudy, then pouring down rain, and then sunny off and on all afternoon here. So right now we're in a sunny patch, but that could end at any moment. But anyway, this
Yeah.
is Tuku by the Petite Knitter. Really enjoyed the pattern, and would definitely again.
Wonderful. Yeah, let's enjoy this sunny moment that we're both having.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a similar song and dance here with me. My finished object is also the petite knitter pattern. I can't tell you when I finished it. It was
Nope.
probably in the winter or fall as
Because
well. Oh, was it around the same time?
I
Yeah.
remember talking about.
So I don't remember. I think this is I'll stand up. I'm not putting it on. I feel like I'll overheat, but you can kind of see it like this, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. So, it just feels so good. Heather had recommended I check out Kelbourne Woolens Scout, so I use that for this project, and I'm in love with that yarn now. So, the light gray and the black essentially are Scout, and then this color is Moondrake Cormo
Okay.
sport actually, because I really wanted a color like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I mixed a DK and a sport weight yarn. And I made this, yeah, I started it back in November around my birthday. And it was also to commemorate my cat, Alf,
Oh,
who transitioned back in November as well. So this sweater brings me both. It helps me connect with him and then also think about just that birthday time too when I made it. One thing I'll point out that I did with this, and we talked about this, Heather, is I think I can't remember how many stitches now, but it was either 8 or 10 stitches when I split for the sleeve. I included in the front, so the front would have
mm-hmm.
more space for my bust. Um, and there are slightly fewer stitches on the back. So instead of splitting evenly, I gave the front a little bit more. But yeah, great sweater, great pattern. There were some long floats
Mm-hmm.
that were kind of obnoxious in the cat area, you could probably tell, but I made it through and
Yeah. The little white blips are duplicate stitch, right? Those aren't.
no, I did not duplicate them. I knit them, I stranded them as I went.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Well, it's the gray color, right? Yeah,
Oh,
the gray color.
okay.
So I just had to catch them though.
Yeah. All right.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
the nocturnal. Not sure if I said it. The nocturnal or nocturne sweater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely fall vibes.
Yeah, I mean, it does do a little Halloween. We had just talked
What
about
else
the other
do
day, but
you have?
I have two more FOs, I guess. So one of them, it's not quite an FO because I got to put the buttons on it. um, but so something I did this year is I made myself like my own yarn club. So I had belonged to a couple different yarn clubs in 2023 where I like the Farmer's Daughter Fiber has a club and you get sock yarn every month or whatever. So I belonged to that. But I was trying to do that at a lower cost. So I bought several skeins of yarn from a secondhand yarn vendor here called
Mm.
Sky Fibers. And then I bagged it up into little bags, and then I'm like spinning every month for which one to pick. So this was the one for January. So it was a non-superwash fingering yarn, so I held it double to make,
Mm.
this was actually two skeins. And I didn't bring the tag, so I can't remember what type of yarn it was, but it was two skeins held double. And this is the pattern Baby Sophisticate. And it just needs a little, I'm going to put these yellow buttons on it.
Oh, I love it.
So maybe I'll do that when we're done here today, because I did finish this in January. I just never got the buttons on it. So anyway, that'll go in the gift box for somebody I know that has a little one that needs a gift. So yeah, Baby Sophisticate. And we will put all the exact pattern details and stuff in the drop down box below. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, I know. Do you
Oh,
want to do one and then I'll do my last one?
yeah, I mean, you're setting me up well for all of these because my next one is a cardigan. It's not a baby knit, but it's for someone else. So I made this. I made this for someone else, but this is the Forest Nymph cardigan by Lene Tosti. And again, more beautiful color work. Let me stand up. See if I can show the full fade. You can see the full fade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the sleeves, it goes, you see? So it goes from the light to the dark and then back out to the light. So I use the black to save a little bit. I use Jamieson and Smith. And then the greens are Spindrift, Jamieson's Shetland Spindrift. So it's a fingering weight pattern. I'm trying to remember the needles I used. I can't really remember. Sorry, it's been a while. Maybe 3 for the color work. But yeah, it was a really, 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 really enjoyable make.
Yeah.
Especially considering that it was a fingering weight yarn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think. So at one point I was freaking out because I thought it was actually too big.
Mm-hmm.
And the sleeves were too big, and I ended up ripping them out. And I used a slightly smaller needle for them.
Okay.
Still looks the same as the body, like it's not a drastic difference, but it made them slightly smaller. And I actually think the body is the perfect size now for that person. So I freaked out for nothing. Let me see if I can show you the back side.
Oh my gosh. So I missed it because I think I froze for a minute. What yarn did you use for the color work?
I used Jamieson's Spindrift.
Okay.
Jamieson Spindrift.
So all different shades.
I think you're frozen again. The other Jamiesons.
Yeah.
Jamieson's is Shetland Spindrift, and then the other one is the black is Jamieson and Smith.
Got it. Okay.
Twisted rib for all of the, the collar, etc. This was a steeked project. This was my first steek.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if you can see the details at all. So right here, I did a zigzag stitch on the sewing machine. to reinforce the steek, and then I just whip stitch the inside down.
It looks really neat and professional.
It does.
Mhm. Well, from this distance, which who's going to be looking at it from closer than that, right?
Right, exactly. Well, thank you. I am proud of myself. Yeah, I think that's it. It was an interesting and new experience, particularly doing the steeking and finishing all of this up. But yeah.
Yeah. Yay, I love it. Yeah, we are having a color work. I'm looking at none of the projects I have in progress are color work, but I feel like we did have a color work
We
moment
had a we
winter.
had a we did have a color work winter, and then we were recently chatting because I was like, let's keep this going. I think I'm ready to cast on Twigs. And
Ooh.
and at first I was like, I know exactly what colors, and then some time passed and I'm like, I don't know anymore. So we're gonna let that sit. At first I think I was really inspired by this. So I was kind
Mhm.
of thinking doing a black with like this shade of green. Is it that shade?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I have a couple of options,
Yeah.
and probably every few podcast episodes, I'm talking about casting on twigs.
I know, and then I'll be tempted to do another one, which I don't do. I need a third twigs, no, but it's so fun.
Yeah.
You actually commented on my twigs on Ravelry recently and like asked me a question about it. Um,
Mhm.
so I was like, oh, twigs, I need to wear that more often. Um, okay. So my biggest thing that I have, um, I so I moved recently. So that was part of the reason for our hiatus is that I moved. But I started making an Afghan right before I moved is when I started making it, mostly because I was procrastinating on packing or whatever. And then the project came over here and I just finally finished it I think it took me like 5 or 6 months. But anyway, I'll show it to you and then I'll talk about. So this is the Giant Granny Patches Afghan by Sandra Paul Cherry Heart. And it is truly giant. This is just one small corner of it, but I think you can kind of see all the colors from looking at this.
Yeah.
The patches themselves are not giant. They're only like 2-3 inches square, but the blanket itself is probably like full size bed size. So I used West Yorkshire Spinners
Mm.
DK. Color Lab DK is the series. I used 10 different colors of West Yorkshire Spinners Color Lab DK.
Mm.
And I used between around 2.5 balls of each. So 250 grams of each of
Wow.
10 colors. So this thing weighs like 10 pounds. It's extremely,
Yeah.
very, very large. So I'm actually trying to figure out what to do with it because the original plan was I was going to put it like on the bed in my craft room / guest room. But
Mhm.
since that time, I have like arranged and organized. That's the room I'm in right now. And I actually decided not to put a bed in here because it works really well for its use as a craft room, which is what it is most of the time with more floor space. So now I don't have that place to put it anymore. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. So right now it's just over the back of the couch because it's just too pretty. And
Yeah.
long-time viewers might remember that my couch is this color. So it anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy with it. It's nice and warm. And I just kind of had ordered a random assortment of colors that were on sale, but I think they go together really well.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Really refreshing.
yeah. Yeah. And it was a fun, just because the squares themselves only took like 10 minutes. So I just worked on the diagonal and I would just do a couple squares and put a stitch marker in to remind myself where I was. And yeah. Um, But I do have a plan for my leftover half a ball of yarn. which I will show you real quick. So I picked up 2 balls of a more neutral color of the same yarn, and I'm gonna do some kind of striped sweater with this as
Oh,
the main color and all these wilder colors as the stripes.
yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, so someday that's happening.
A joyful make, a
Yeah.
colorful joyful make. Very nice.
All right, I do not need that because it's very warm right now with this sweater. So
Yeah.
that is off to the side.
No, that Afghan definitely deserves its shine though. So I hope you figure out a
Every
good
now and then I'll just pull it over. Yeah.
right on. My last FO is pretty dull in comparison. And I had forgotten that I made this, but this is my last one.
Oh, I've been wanting to make one of those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you probably recognize it. So
Mm-hmm.
whereas I used to kind of talk about it and leave you in suspense, now I'm like, let me just show you right away. um, but this is the Autumn Tales Cowl by Ozetta. And I made this because I just, oftentimes I feel chilly here, and I figured a cowl, particularly this kind of shape, could keep me warm. Whereas a scarf, it just feels like more of a hassle, a scarf or a shawl. So I wanted something simple and easy that I could just pull over my head. I used some yarn I had in my stash. It's Blue Sky Fibers. Is it Woolstok?
Mm-hmm.
The
So,
worsted weight? Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And the cast iron color. I didn't have enough. There's supposed to be a braid along the edge,
Mm.
but I didn't have enough yarn to do that.
Cover your coat mostly anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I just, I loved that I was able to use up yarn. But then also in retrospect, a person I will not name, but you probably know who, Heather, um, told me that this looks like like what is it called? The armor that the knights wear. And I was like,
It's
you're
like
kind of
chain
right.
mail or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the color and the shape and everything too. So now I cannot unsee that.
Yes.
This yarn knit up particularly in garter stitch. Oh, garter stitch is just so nice. It's
Yeah.
just so nice and squishy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my last knit FO.
Yay. I mean, it's been several months, but we got a lot done. I'm feeling proud of our making.
Yeah, actually, you're right. You're right. I mean, that's the other way I've been feeling. I don't know if it might be changing now, but I've more so been a quote unquote, I mean, I'm a process and a product knitter, but I've been really enjoying the slowness of making. And so the fingering weight project, I just like took my time with it. And I was telling Heather too that I feel like I might be more of a fingering weight garment person because I just overheat so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was team fingering weight when I lived in the Bay Area. Then I had a DK moment when I moved here. And now I think I'm back on team fingering because I have enough DK stuff already. But that's a good segue into my first work in progress.
All right, let's see it.
So I'll show you later a couple of my other whips that I've been on the needles for a long time and have some sort of problem or other.
Hmm.
But I was feeling really stuck. I just wasn't really wanting to work on anything except for this blanket, which I had finished, and like some vanilla socks or whatever. But I finally decided that what I needed to do was make another lento. because I love Lento. If you've been watching us for a while, you know that I have two Lentos already. I have one that's like a bright yellow and one that is a maroon color. And I really love the Lento pattern because the yoke fits me really well. I find on a lot of raglans the yoke is too deep for me. So anyway, this was another yarn from my mystery yarn club that I made myself. And I started making another Lento. Yay! So it's actually not fingering weight, but it's very, very light because it's fingering and mohair at a really loose gauge. So to me, it wears more similar to a fingering weight sweater. Like I could wear it to work all day and not overheat too much. So I started this a week ago and I have the whole body and most of one sleeve done. So just need to get the other
That's a very gratifying knit.
Yeah. And the yarn is, I'm not exactly sure what this is. This is the yarn I got from the secondhand store, and some knitting for Olive mohair. So, and it's neat. This was a little grayer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more, it's hard to tell because of the sun, but so I just put this purple with it to kind of make it a different, I'm really happy with the color it's coming out, which is kind of a purpley gray. So
yeah, I like that too. It's really cool seeing what yarn pairings, like the type of fabric and the color change that it makes when you yeah, particularly with mohair, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I've been liking, I made something else. I made a sweater for a friend that obviously has long since been gifted to that person, with a mohair and a yarn that were not quite the same color, but like complementary. And I've really been liking how that worked out. To make them exactly the same. So anyway, that is Lento.
Right on. Right on.
And my trusty clover needles.
Yes, you can't go wrong with those.
No.
I'll share my next one. This has mohair in it too. So I have this yarn. I've had it for a while in my stash. It has little specks of yellow in it that I really love. You probably can't see it. But I've been trying to use stash yarn and I wanted something bright as the seasons were changing. And I started this, I had held it double and started a garment. I had started a Vertices Unite. I had started a wool and honey, but the fabric was looking horrible. I started that way back. And then I decided to revisit wool and honey, even though my mind was saying, it's single ply, you have these drop stitches in wool and honey, your gauge is going to be loose no matter what because this yarn is so light. Even though all of those things are true, I was like, I'm going to go down some needle sizes and I'm going to give wool and honey a try again. And the other reason I had quit wool and honey before is because of all of the purling. And I've noticed some shoulder tension when I purl. Like I like purling, but my body doesn't. Like it's something with the grip and I'm trying to learn how to relax some when I purl. So that was also uncomfortable. Anyway, so this time I'm doing the whole suspense thing. But let me wait. So I was like, you know what? This is going to be a process knit. Maybe they'll last longer than I think. So I cast on wool and honey again. Now let's see, because I have these needles in it. I haven't split for sleeves yet, so I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Maybe if I hold it like that, you can
No, yeah, you can definitely see it.
Going on. So I like it. For some reason, this just had to be wool and honey. I don't know. So I did the neckline. It's tubular cast on, and I used zeros. because I remember when I tried it way back when, it was just way too loose. And then I'm using twos. And even as I'm using twos, I'm like, I should have used ones. But it's okay. And we'll see. Maybe it'll do something for me when it blocks out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what needle size it's meant to be knit on. I think threes or four, maybe fours. I can't remember. But this yarn has mohair in it as well. It's a fingering weight, single ply mohair. And I'm enjoying it. I just have to break from it.
Yeah.
And I decided to go ahead and cast this on because I recently wore Shifty.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is fingering weight. It kind of had that squish factor. And it just helped me realize that I'm team fingering weight and it could be cool to have a garter stitch garment. You were going to say something.
No, I think I was just going to say, like, it's no, I mean, you know, I'm saying this even though I've like knit Lento in like a week, but I feel like Lento is a sweater that I cast on because it's something I can finish quickly and get satisfaction out of. Whereas Wool and Honey is more of like, let's do a few rows and then it'll be done when it's done, like the Afghan. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, you don't need it tomorrow.
Yeah. I was going in for a while because I think I cast this on last week. I can't remember. Because it is an enjoyable knit. It's so rhythmic. But I've noticed some tension. So I put that down now, and today I was like, I'm casting on something else, even though I was like, I don't know if I should have two garments on the needles, but whatever.
Whatever. I have 3 garments on the needles. Would you like to see the other 2?
Yes, you always make me feel better about these things. Please share.
And I'm actually trying to, it's kind of stressing me out. So I'm trying to get these 2 because they're closer to being done. I'm trying to get them all finished soon. Okay. But this one is the Carly Cardigan by Irene Lynn. This pattern came out, I think, in December or January, and I immediately was like, I need to make that because it's all cable-y. I don't have the pattern printed out. I've been using it on my computer, but so I went and looked in my stash to see what I had, and I had this Misty Wool. And I had originally bought this for a pullover, but it wasn't quite the right color. It wasn't like a warm enough brown. It's kind of, it's looking really great because of the light, but it is a more rusty brown, but it's kind of a cool tone, if that makes sense. So I never had, I didn't want it for a pullover, but I decided to make the Carly cardigan, which is cables. It was just the right, I didn't even do a gauge swatch, but I knew I could get close enough. So this is the Carly cardigan. It has pockets. Really lovely panel on the back. So the reason I stopped is that it's 2 options. You can make it like a vest type situation where you just pick up a little bit of ribbing around here and then you're done. Or you can knit sleeves. And my original plan was to make it a vest because it's not a color that I love. And so I'm going to have to wear something under it because this color, I don't think does. So I thought, oh, I can wear like a long sleeve t-shirt or a turtleneck or something under it. But then I have 2 balls of this yarn left. And I was like, well, I could, basically that's like enough for sleeves. And what am I going to do with this yarn? But I think I have decided that I am going to just do what I originally planned, which is make it a vest and then just get rid of those last 2 balls of yarn because I'm not going to make anything else with them, I don't think. So,
yeah.
But this was so enjoyable. It looks like a really complicated cable pattern, but I was able to memorize it pretty quick.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you get going, yeah. So anyway, I'm excited to get that finished, and I'm hoping to get that finished in the next few weeks so that I can at least wear it a couple times before it gets too warm.
Before it's too warm, yeah. And you said You don't use a cable needle when you cable, right?
No, not unless it's trying to think. I did make something a while ago where I needed to use one, unless it's like a really long cable, but I didn't. Even the biggest cables on this are only 6 stitches, I think, or 8 stitches. So I think there's
Mm,
so yeah, I always cable without a cable needle. Yeah.
got it. Yeah. Right on.
All right, what else are you working on?
Okay, so this, like I said, I literally just cast it on not too long ago. I wound up the yarn. So you're on your third linto. I'm on my third. I don't know if you can guess based on our recent conversation. This is just some ribbing for the collar.
Oh, I don't know. What do you have 2 of already?
We were just talking about this, but you probably didn't think this was the route I was gonna go.
Is it heirloom? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I casted on another heirloom by Fable Knitwear. And so the first one I did to pattern, it has a lace going down the center. And then the second one I omitted the lace and I just made it as a sweater. Um and so this one I'm going off the pattern and I'm going to try to see if I can get what I want, because Heather and I, we were looking at another pattern that I think is gorgeous and I really want to make. Um, but the comments, like pretty much across the board, say that the pattern, unfortunately, I mean, I can't. This is what the comments say. I can't say this firsthand, but that it wasn't written well. So I was like, do I really want to buy again? You know, whatever, $6 that can go towards something else, right? A donation and whatever. So I was like, do I really want to buy another pattern um when there's some things that are kind of similar? So long story, so anyway, what I'm doing is the heirloom has twisted rib, but I was like, for this one, let me just try a regular rib, because what I basically want is what feels like an everyday kind of sweatshirt with a little bit of funkiness or edge to
Mhm.
it, right? So I'm doing regular rib. I am using fingering weight yarn. Both of those patterns, that one, the heirloom calls for fingering held with mohair, and then the other one is DK. So they're both essentially DK. I'm stubborn. I've done this before. I've used the wrong weight yarn before, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna see. I'm just gonna
Yay,
explore, right?
math.
So
You'll be fine.
I'm gonna go off the pattern, because what I like about the two patterns is that they're set in sleeves.
Mhm.
But the heirloom has a puff. It has a subtle puff and a not so subtle puff. So I'm gonna do the subtle one, but also I'm gonna play with it. Maybe I can even take some of the puff out to see if I can really get the effect that I want. Um anyway, so I haven't been buying yarn. I happened to see that Pearl Soho had their 20% off sale. I'm on this fingering weight kick, but I like, like texture. So
Mhm.
I said, why not get some linen quill? So this is linen quill. I've been wanting this jewel or bold kind of green
Mhm.
for a while. And I think when I got it, I was like, is this exactly what I think? It's close to what I was going for, and it feels good for the spring. So we'll see what happens. I might not have enough yarn, so I might
We'll
have
just
to
make
buy
the sleeves
more.
shorter if you don't have enough yarn.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. It could be a shorter sleeve. Hopefully, maybe I can get at least 3/4, but we'll see what happens. I think that's it. I did a tubular. I'm really digging tubular cast-ons these days. I really am digging the way that looks on these ribbed collars.
Yeah. Yeah. I have yarn.
Yeah.
I think I have an unfinished project from last summer that is a similar color to that, but it's Sandnesgarn, whatever their like linen
Mhm.
is, and it's their color is called jelly bean green, but it's very similar
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I need to go back and finish that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that color because I got their blue version of that
Hmm.
and held it with mohair for my other heirloom actually. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
what color?
Okay, well, here's my last big project that is been in hibernation.
Mm.
So I was saying at the beginning how last year I had been in a couple yarn clubs, and one of them was Ritual Dyes, which is a local Portland company. And they had a monthly yarn club, and I did DK. My original plan had been to make hats out of the DK and just like use it up as it came and make like hats for the gift box. But a couple of them were too variegated, and I just didn't like how they were coming out as hats. So I ended up just saving it all till the end of the year. And then I actually made, which I didn't even think to show, it's right here though. I made a Vertices Unite with some of it. I
Oh,
have,
nice.
yeah, which is why it's still
Did I
sitting.
know about this one?
But I made a Vertices Unite with 5 of the colors. And then I had, it was a monthly yarn club, so I had 7 colors left, and then I also had some left of these colors.
Mm.
And these were the colors that went together the best. So that was the other problem with this yarn, is it was kind of, it had a color palette, but it was hard to think of how to put it together into a project. So then I thought, I'm going to make a striped sweater. And I had seen this pattern, which is the Arrow Sweater by Petite Knit. And I decided to make an Arrow sweater using the leftovers from this Vertices Unite and one other color, which is this brownish orangish color. But of course, everybody knows I always get myself into a pickle because I just start these projects and I don't really think through, do I have enough yarn to actually make it or not? And so now I need advice, because here's what happened. So my plan was I had a full skein of this brown color. So I was going to just do the stripes, and then the collar and the cuffs and the cuff at the bottom was going to be brown. So that I managed to get the body done, and I put the stuff at the bottom. I picked up for the collar to make sure I would have enough brown for the collar, but I could tell that I was not going to have enough of the brown. So I was doing the sleeves kind of a few colors at a time, and then I would put one on hold and do the other one. So I got down to here. Let's see. I got down to here, and I should have had another white stripe and another brown stripe, but I didn't have enough of the white and I didn't have enough of the brown. So I just went ahead and did a couple more stripes of the other colors I still had. But what I'm trying to figure out now, I'm ready for the cuff. So I can't decide. And I have enough brown left just to bind off the collar. It's supposed to be a doubled over collar. So I also have enough that I could turn it so that only the brown would show, and then I could just use something else for the inside of the collar. So that the collar is going to be fine. But what I can't figure out about it is what I should do about the cuffs. Like, I'm wondering, should I actually tear the brown out of the hair and put the brown on the cuff, or even just a couple rows of brown on the cuff, because I feel like it's going to look weird and unbalanced without. And I went through my stash to see if I had a brown that was like anywhere close to this, but I really don't. And the other option is to like pull it back and make it like elbow sleeve, but it's DK weight, and I just don't think I would wear it that much if it was elbow sleeved.
And what would you do? Hold it up. Let me see the bottom. What would you do to the bottom?
I would just make it like yellow or something. It would just be the lighter color. I mean, yellow is the color that should come next there, And I have enough yellow, I just didn't put it because it was the right length and I wanted the bottom to be brown.
Yeah.
But if I tore the brown out, I could make it yellow, which is the right color in the stripe pattern. And then I could go back, but I think I would actually have enough to do the stripe that was supposed to be here and the cuff.
And the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
I might do that then, so you would have 3 brown stripes in the
body.
body.
I would have 4 in
which
this.
makes sense because the sleeve is
longer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you don't want shorter sleeves, that seems like the way to go.
Okay.
And I feel like I might have a brown like that, but I can't see very clearly to be able to say.
I mean, it's kind of in real life, it's kind of like an orangey, rusty brown.
And it's super wash.
I can't, the light is just not good enough to, it's super wash.
Orangey, rusty. So I don't think this brown I'm thinking of that happens to be down here.
I mean, that actually might be pretty close. I don't know. I also, is it fingering weight?
It's sport.
Sport. I had a fingering weight mini that was, this is a very warm color, and I had a fingering weight mini that was similar but a very cool color. So I might try that, but I think it's going to be too obvious that it's different.
Too obvious, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then I think that that plan you mentioned, so I think that works. Yeah.
That way the stripe sequence continues the right way on the body with the yellow. And then I put the brown into the sleeves. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So that's happening, and hopefully that'll be done sometime soon. I have been really What's that?
I really like the sweater.
I do too. Yeah. I took it to a knit night a while ago, and somebody was saying it's like kind of wild, but not really wild, if that makes sense. It's like a nice, yeah. I mean, it does make sense because the yarns were all part of like a club, so they sort of coordinate in that way.
Yeah.
So if this ends up fitting well after blocking, I have 6 more skeins of this. Plus I had to buy another skein of the blue because I just you can kind of tell the 2 blues are kind of different. But I have most of the blue skein left, so I have 7 more skeins, and there's a dress version of this. So if it ends up fitting well, I might use those to make a, like, it'll probably be like mini dress, but we'll see.
That sounds fun. Yeah, to be continued.
To be continued. Okay, what else have you been working on?
Here's one last whip that I had worked on recently. It's just using that leftover Cormo from the Nocturnal, and this is a Manhattan hat light. I figured I was like, this is the yarn that pattern actually calls for.
Oh yeah?
So like, I have the pattern, I've made the pattern before, so why not use it for that? So yeah, but nice. I took the 2s off for this.
Yeah. So. I have some yarn I've been wanting to make that Manhattan hat light and the mitts, and I have this non-superwash yarn I've been wanting to do that. So next winter, that'll have to happen.
Next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll share one more finished object. It's not knitting, but I'm proud of it. And I had alluded to the fact that I had started sewing in our last episode many months ago. And some folks were like, oh, you should share your sewing project. And so, being the adventurous maker that I am, I sewed up. I don't want to show you the inside. I don't want to show you the inside, but I made a quilt jacket, folks.
That's what most people do for their second sewing project, is make a quilted jacket.
proud of this. I should put it on.
So
I'm gonna
great.
put
Yeah. Have you been wearing it a lot?
Yes. I think it's a good spring jacket. So I do get a good wear out of it. And so that's what I'm so excited about, that I like made something. I sewed something
Mhm.
that I legit like, the fit works, and I
Yeah.
don't know,
Oh,
I'm just excited.
I want one.
I want to make
So great.
more. We could do it so long.
Yeah. That would mean I would have to get out my sewing machine, which I have not used since I moved to Portland more than 2 years ago. But oh my gosh,
You
it
have
looks so amazing.
to. So this is the Tamarack jacket by Grainline Studio, and they have a sew along. So that was really helpful, to be able to visualize the process. And I just took my time. I just left my sewing machine out and took my time. And um, it took me a while to decide on fabric. And I didn't even, I have colors that I generally like. At first, I was like, I really need a black jacket. But then I saw this yellow. It was reasonably priced. So I grabbed this, and I'll show you the inside. I'll give you a little peek. It's not finished well, but
I mean,
I don't have a serger.
died.
But I'm proud of myself. I quilted. You quilt everything in pieces, and then you sew it together. I'm really proud of myself. I'm forgetting the name of these pockets now. Are they inseam pockets? But I'm proud of myself for pulling this off. Like, it was a
Mhm.
little intimidating. And then here's the pocket bag. Um, and then the bias binding, I hand sewed all of my bias binding. Well, I did the initial part by machine, but when
Right.
you attach it, I hand sewed all of this because I didn't. I'm trying to remember. There was something about, maybe I was concerned about hitting the edge right on the sewing machine. Like, my sewing still isn't super precise, but yeah. And then I'm proud of myself for figuring out these snaps.
Mm.
I even modified the pattern a little bit. So the
Oh,
original, look at me.
I know.
The original pattern is squared. The edges on
Mm.
the collar and at the bottom is squared,
Okay.
and I rounded it, which made it a little bit more difficult to do this bias binding, but I think I did an okay job with it.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that it has this like high-low
Mhm.
thing going on. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it looks so great. I mean, it probably in the end was probably easier to sew like not using black fabric because it was probably easier to see,
Yeah.
for a first project, but I bet you could do another one now in a darker color and it would be yeah.
Yeah. I want to give the black a try, and I want to do a short black one.
Mhm. The
'Cause I have
shoulders, I just can't get over how good the shoulders look. Like those fit you just right.
I don't know how, I'm like so proud of myself. Thank you.
I mean, I
Which,
feel like shoulders on a store-bought jacket never fit me that well, so
and I think I figured out, like, I was kind of like, is this going to fit me right? Is this the right size? Because the first thing I made was, I showed you a picture. I made a shirt number 1,
Mhm.
uh, which it fits, but it's kind of snug. So I've learned now how to better measure and figure out my size with sewing patterns. It's
Yeah.
not what it is at the store. um, Anything else? Yeah, I think with knitting, sewing, everything, there's something magical about taking like scraps of fabric or yarn, and just like, then suddenly you have a garment.
Mhm.
There's something just really gratifying about that, and
Yeah.
beautiful about that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, It's been fun. I'm glad we decided to record and get caught up. Tell us what you're making. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you're making. And check out our drop down box. We'll put all the details down below if there's for links and everything. And I guess that's it. Yeah.
I guess so.
Okay. All right. We'll see you when we see you.
All right.
Bye.